So again, welcome to Transition to Adulthood and Individuals with Disabilities Improvement Act. My name is Laura Knapp, and with me is Goviana. So Jovi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Goviana Morales. I am the newest member to CPAC. I'm excited to be here with you all. And just in case we do have any Spanish-speaking families and you do have any questions, please put them on the chat and I will go ahead and translate and answer that question in Spanish for you. So I look forward to tonight. Thank you for everyone being here.
And please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I want this to be an interactive time together and the presentation to be meaningful. Okay. So the purpose of tonight is to increase your understanding of transition planning outlined in the Individuals with Disability Act, Education Improvement Act, and to provide resources and strategies to help families, parents, caregivers, teachers to play an active role in the transition process. A little bit about Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. We've been around for 30 years, and we are the Parent and Training Information Center for the state. We are a nonprofit, and we offer support related to special education. Many times folks think that we're advocates for all disabilities, and we're not. We really focus on special education, 504 planning, things of that nature. And we do have several funders, the Department of Education from Connecticut, the United States Department of Education, Down Syndrome Association of Connecticut, Family and School Partnerships. So we have several different funding sources. Again, and our mission is to educate, support, and empower families and who have children with disabilities and chronic conditions from birth to age 26. We span all those years, going beyond the age of 22, which is the current law for special education. And we believe that all families have the confidence and knowledge to advocate for their children, and we want to empower them, give them the skills, and walk with them through the process. Again, we are not advocates per se, but we do empower families. That's really our mission. All of our parent consultants have a child with a disability, whether they're on a 504 plan in special education, or if they have chronic health conditions. So we understand the nature of disabilities and what families go through. So I have been with CPAC officially for 3.5 years now. I began about 18 years ago taking the Next Steps class, and I worked just periodically with CPAC on certain projects. And I am a mother of 5 children. Several of them have various different disabilities, from mental health to PDD, NOS, to very complicated medical conditions. And my background is in family development and studies. And Jovi, if you want to share something about yourself.
I am a mother of 5 children as well, one who is 20. They range from 20 to 10 years old. So I have one that completed transition about 3 years ago. And from personal experience, it was not a great experience. So this training is really important as preparing families. Currently, I am in school for assistant speech and language pathology. So that's what I'm doing.
We definitely need some speech and language pathologists in the state. So I'm so happy you're doing that. Okay. So if folks can just type in the chat, just who you are. Are you a parent? Are you a professional? Someone who's just curious about special education? Thank you.
Laura, would you like for me to start sharing out?
Yes.
I have Terry. She's a parent of a high school senior with ASD and ADHD. Lisa, who's a parent of a child with an intellectual disability. Joanna, and she's a parent of a 20-year-old son with DS who will be transitioning out of Killingly High School next year. Gina Barrett, special education teacher, newly appointed transition coordinator for Meriden Public Schools, mother of a student with 22Q11 who is in transition currently in the Wallingford School District.
Great. Well, welcome everybody.
And I believe that there were 2 people that just joined. We were just asking for if you wanted to just give us a little bit about yourself. Laura shared a little bit about her and I did as well. So if you could just give us, introduce yourself and just a little bit of information. I have Rebecca Atkins, special education teacher and director of operations at the Lighthouse.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, my computer just froze. This is not good.
I'm sorry. And Joe shares that he's a father of a soon-to-be 18-year-old with autism.
There we go. Okay, my computer froze for a moment. Had a mini panic attack. So I'm going to show you a brief video. It just really it's a great video that explains the Individuals with Disability Act and the history of it. I'm actually going to stop sharing and because I already have it up on YouTube. So just give me a moment. Okay, that's one more time. Sorry about that. This is showing my true technical abilities. So I apologize. Where the header is, it's underneath the screen that says chat participants, so I can't get to it. Can everybody see that now? Yes, thank you.
Laura, is there supposed to be sound? There's no sound.
There's no sound? Yes, there is supposed to be sound.
Okay.
I think there's an option to share with computer audio or some weird thing like that. I had trouble doing this before.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. It works perfectly fine, but Let me pause this. So there was an option in share.
I just remember there's some options somewhere about sharing with computer audio.
Nope, so there's no audio at all. Well, I'm sorry about that. It's a really great video. So I don't see the point of showing it without audio, because you really need it goes over the whole entire history and just how many individuals starting in the 60s who were in special education, but were and those were institutionalized all the way up to current day. But I do encourage you to watch it. I will share the PowerPoint presentation so that everybody can access. Okay, let's go back. Okay. So this is really the crux of why we do transition, and the purpose of IDEA is to ensure that all children with disabilities have available to them free and appropriate public education that emphasizes special education and related services designed to meet their unique needs and prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. And it's that piece that says prepare them for future education, employment, and independent living. That is all about transition. What happens after high school? How is the IEP developed? How are the services provided that is going to prepare that student for life after high school? Okay. And beginning and no later than the first IEP in effect when the child turns 16, and this is the federal, oops, sorry about that. This is the federal law, or younger, and there are many students who are 8, 9, 10 years old who do attend their PPT meeting, but they are invited to come starting age 16, the first IEP that is in effect on their 16th birthday. However, when Connecticut, now the age is 14 years old, it started with those individuals who have autism. Now, just recently, I believe it was in June, they changed the Connecticut regulation for all students starting at the age of 14. So it is important to invite the students to the PPT meeting. It prepares them for self-advocacy. It's very intimidating for students to sit in front of 8, 9, 10 people. So the earlier you get them used to it, the better. Data has shown that. And whether it's even just introducing themselves, saying hi, and then leaving, whatever is age appropriate and whatever that student can handle. I do know of a 5th grader who actually ran their PPT meeting talking about, this is my services, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is how I made progress. It was quite impressive.
So Laura, I just want to clarify, as of this June, every student with an IEP that reaches the age of 14 years, when they're 14 at the age of their annual PPT, right, is required to have transition goals and objectives.
Correct, in the PSOCs, yes.
Because it was previously only autism, everybody else
Correct.
was 15 year, but now it is changed as of June. Okay, that's new.
Don't quote me, as I don't know if it was May, June, or July. I don't know the exact date, but it was very recent. I would have put the regulation up, but they haven't been updated yet. So this was a very new thing.
Okay, that's very new. I wrote IEPs right up until June, and I have not heard of that yet. So, okay, thank you.
It'll be coming, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. So really, and also since we're speaking about the IEP, when we're talking about the post-school outcome goal statements, which is the transition page, all of this relates back to preparing them for independent livings, further education, and employment. So all of those goals, those post-goals school outcome goal statements, which is what the individual will be doing after high school, will be linked to their present levels of performance and also their annual goals. They're all based on transition assessments, ongoing transition assessments. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of that because we will be doing another series about the IEP and transition and going over the transition page with the present levels and how that all relates to the IEP and planning and transition assessments. So IDEA defines transition service as a coordinated set of activities with results oriented and improving academic and functional achievement. So I'll explain academic and functional, but it is basically whatever program you have during middle school and high school that will assist the student and the family in creating a vision for their future, what their life is going to look like after high school. That is a coordinated set of activities. So it's not just one activity, it's many different activities that link together. So and it's important to get the students' interests and take into account their preferences, their ideas, their wants, their desires. That all relates to transition. And it should be ongoing because, as you know, what a student may want in 9th grade is very different from 10th grade. And functional goals is beyond academic. It's not just reading and writing, it's looking beyond, it's looking at daily activities, the social goals. How are they in the community? How can they access the community? How is their IEP modified? Can they write an essay in college? You know, if in high school, they're only required to, let's say, write a 2-page essay instead of a 10-page, that's going to be very different in college. And is that individual prepared for college or a community college? And what goals and objectives will help get that student there? So, are any questions so far? Okay. So looking at the different domains of facilitated movement from school to post-high school, it could, like I said, it could be a community college, a 4-year college. You're looking at different vocational training, whether it's certified programs at the community college, you know, it might be a dental assistant or something of that nature. Different types of employment. It's really, they're talking more about competitive employment, really gaining the skills for competitive employment. They really don't want to do stipends anymore, sheltered workshops, which is really for those with lower functioning. And even looking at linking to adult services, the military. A lot of people don't think about the military, but that is something that might be a student's goal. And here are some more discussing the coordinated set of activities. So these are how they can all insert. How does the academics relate to leisure and transportation, even health? You think about if a student has a chronic health condition, do they know about their health condition? How does it affect their access to education? Do they know they're getting a migraine? Or if they have diabetes, is their sugar getting low? Do they know how to advocate for themselves? Do they know the warning signs? Because if they're not available for learning, they're not going to be successful. And a lot of times people forget about that piece of the health and really self-advocacy. Time management is a big one that we get calls on. How do we teach my student or my youngster to have time management skills? I'm still working on that one myself, but.
Aren't we all?
Yes. And there is a hyperlink in the PowerPoint presentation to the transition guide from the federal government. So talking about when the student reaches the age of 18, under IDEA, that is the age of majority, they become responsible for themselves. So parental rights cease, no matter, and we get a lot of calls, you know, especially around intellectual disabilities. Regardless, when a student turns 18, parental rights cease. So schools are to, a year before the student turns 18, inform the parents, inform the student, give them options, and provide a notice. Okay. And this is an example of how the student can say that I want my parent, my caregiver to act on my behalf because I'm just not ready to make all the decisions. And according to Connecticut state regulations, it's regulation section 10-76D12. So it indicates that a child who's reached age of 18, they can put in writing, and Board of Education needs to accept this, that they want his or her parent to make educational decisions, and it has to be updated annually. There's been a lot of questions about that, whether it's if they need a probate or whether they need an attorney to give permission. All they need to do is write out something stating that they give their parent permission.
I have a question. If you go through the process of getting guardianship prior to their 18th birthday, do you still have to do this, or is that a whole different ball of wax?
It's a whole different ballgame because guardianship takes away all of the individual rights, and it gives it to whomever they appoint as guardian. They retain the rights. Yep. And even with conservatorship, there is different types of conservatorship, but if someone is conserved, that gives that into whoever is the conservator, it gives them the right to make those decisions. And that's a whole nother presentation. And there is different supportive decision-making that they're trying to pass through legislation. So it'll be recognized that individuals have supportive decision-making agreements with other folks. Is there any other questions about that? I know this is very brief, but. So everybody has heard about the new, instead of remaining in school until 21, individuals can remain in school up to the age of 22 of the day of their 22nd birthday. Then it stops. Okay, this is new. It did go through appeals, and the appeals were lost. So it's not through, so if they turn 22 on September 2nd, that's when the transition services would stop. And again, excuse me, students remaining up until their 22nd birthday is a PPT decision. It's based on needs. It's based on the current levels of performance, what their goals are for after high school. And it is, again, a PPT decision.
Laura, I have 2 questions on the chat. Should the document be notarized and not prepared by an attorney regarding the guardianship? Or are you talking about the age of maturity?
Are you talking about making a statement to the school district saying that you want the parent to make decisions? It does not have to be notarized.
Terry, that answers your question? Okay, and then I have another question. Will a copy of this presentation be made available someplace?
Yes. We do have your emails, and we're going to post it in the chat, and also the regulations that I'm referring to. I'll put that, and I'll actually put the Connecticut regs up. They were adjusted in 2015. Just know that they're going to be updated again, so some of the nuances can change, because I do have to change the age of 21 to age 22, and it takes sometimes it takes a little bit for the state to catch up. And there is also, we do get a lot of questions as far as students participating in graduation activities if they are remaining for transition services or moving to a transition program. There is a Connecticut regulation that does state that a student can participate in activities, and that regulation is 1076D-1A2. So it states that each child with a disability shall be entitled to participate in general education high school graduation exercises and related activities, even if they're not graduating with a diploma, essentially is what it says. We do get a lot of calls about that because some districts say that you have to meet all your graduation requirements. They're not going to receive a diploma. It's just that they take part in activities. Do I have any questions about that? And this is a hyperlink to the State Departments of Education's information about the age of 22 remaining in school. Okay. So here's some different resources. There is a transition bill of rights. And Gina, do you give that out? I'm sure that you've seen this one before.
Every single PPT.
It's kind of like the,
Yeah.
It's start to wallpaper it now.
I have a packet, and just it's automatic in every folder that I do for a PPT.
Right, right. So that just goes over what are the parents and the students' rights as far as transition services. And then there are the Connecticut core transition skills. It basically breaks down what skills a student will need to live independently or attend college. And it's lots of different domains. And again, it's age appropriate, and it's also depending on the disability. Someone who has significant disabilities or intellectual disabilities may not be able to do all of the items on the checklist, but it is a resource for parents and for educators to go by. Just so someone who has significant disabilities for parents and for educators to go by. Is everybody hearing that, or is it just me?
No, I hear it.
Okay, I'm not sure where that came from, but okay.
That was me checking the face.
Okay, it threw me for a moment. I'm like, is there an echo in here?
I apologize. I was just trying to.
That's okay. You know, we had the summer off from Zoom, so I think we're all feeling the technical challenge, because I just said I haven't done this for 3 months. I feel a little out of sync.
I was just checking the Facebook Live. I apologize.
Okay, no, that's okay. Okay, so Building a Bridge is a great resource. It's a handbook for students and family members. It just helps them prepare. There's different checklists, personal strengths. There's samples of goals and objectives and information about IDEA. And Stepping Forward, it's broken into sections, and it's an interactive booklet about rights, responsibilities, and laws in future planning. So it's a really great tool for families or even educators to look at. It is being updated, and it hopefully will be updated this year, by the end of this year. We're crossing our fingers. Okay.
I have a question on the chat from Joanna about age 22. Go ahead, Joanna, you can ask your question.
She muted?
Yes, she's muted. It was regarding age 22. Go ahead, Joanna, you can ask.
I think I can unmute her.
Okay, well, if you think about it.
Right, here we are.
You want to type it in?
Is she typing it in?
Not yet.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, Joanna, you could go ahead and type it in, and I'll go ahead and ask the question for you.
Okay. So I know everybody's sick of hearing about COVID, but here are some different resources when it comes to transition planning. And the State Department, they do have a whole plethora of information on their transition website at the State Department of Education. And that is just hyperlinked to the different COVID resources.
Okay, I have her question.
Okay, great.
Does it make sense to keep a child in school to age 22 if the child turns 22 on November 30th? Would this cause issues with their transition plan?
That's a great question. And depending on where they're going after age 22, it might, if they're, for example, if they're going into a community college, would that disrupt it? I think that's really a PPD decision to see what services are in place and what their plan is. Some students only remain in a transition for a year, and some students remain up to their 22nd birthday. It really depends on the individual.
So thank you.
Yeah, great. So here are different resources to talk about different transition planning and like I said, the Connecticut State Department of Education, National Technical Assistance Center on Transition. They are a great resource, and they host lots of different meetings, and they have a plethora of information, and they're nationwide, as you can tell, national, they are nationwide. Okay. Thank you. So I know it was very brief, just very direct to the point. Again, we will have a transition IEP, which really goes in depth of the IEP, each page as far as transition planning. And we'll be doing that at some point in the fall. There is a new IEP coming out from the State Department of Education, and they're planning on start rolling it out next year. There are some pilots, towns that are doing it. Any questions or?
I do have a question.
Okay.
As far as like the change from 14 or from 15 to 14, do we have a copy of that legislation anywhere? Where can I find that to share with all my special education teachers at the high schools that I serve?
They have not posted it yet. I know.
Okay, so they haven't at all.
Yeah. But what I can do as soon as I get it, I can send it out. And we will be posting it on our website as well. It
Okay.
just, I have the actual law, but not, I have the bill that was introduced,
Mhm.
but not the actual regulation change.
Okay, so but it did definitely pass.
Yes.
Usually when bills pass, they're implemented for July 1st. So
Yeah.
when any legislation is passed, it's usually July
Right,
1st.
right.
So it would have been implemented for this July 1st, this past July 1st, you believe?
Yes.
Okay. My next question is, so this is a series, like you said, of transition workshops. Are they going to be
Yes.
every Tuesday, or is it like a
Yes,
Tuesday a month?
It's one, well, we're doing them
Okay.
also in Spanish, so there might be a couple where there are 2 transition Tuesdays a month, but generally it's the second or third Tuesday. Next month, we are having Bureau Rehab Services talk about Level Up.
Perfect. My kid's already in Level Up.
Yeah.
My
Well,
own son.
They're trying to plan ahead because by the time May comes, April, May, it's
Yeah,
getting
it gets
too late
crazy.
and it's been a mad dash. So they want to really get the information out and inform parents that they really need to fill out the forms. There are certain things they do need to provide, social security numbers and things of that nature. So they will be speaking about Level Up services and also what are the BRS adult when they transition to adulthood, what are the services and the criteria.
Perfect. And then how do I get on your email list in order to get this information? Because this had just happened to be forwarded to me by my special education supervisor who oversees my position.
Excellent.
So I'd love to be able to get the correspondence myself so I could register for your workshop.
Okay. I can actually add you to the list, and we will be creating a transition newsletter. Hopefully in the next few months that everybody wants transition is just going to go out.
Okay.
And yeah, so we will also be doing, like in October, we'll be discussing the autism waiver. Actually, we will have Alicia Tracus from the State Department of Education speaking in November about all the different updates, all the legislation and the resources on the State Department's
Perfect.
website.
That's exactly what I need. And you have my email address,
Yes.
gina.bear@meridenk12.org. Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
absolutely.
I have another question. What is Level Up?
Good, excellent question.
a
Level
great
Up
program.
it is
Yeah.
employment. It's employment services. It's training for preparing individuals for employment. So it's like job shadowing, and it's for any student who has a 504 plan or an IEP. And they start right around, they want to know ahead of time. So right around 15 or so, you really want to start sending the information to Bureau Rehab Services to get them into the program. And that presentation will be September 14th.
Laura, will you have, I'm sorry, just as I'm thinking,
No.
so you're doing Level Up and BRF, you're also going to have DDS perhaps? And you are,
Yes.
so you're going to go through the, oh, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so I
Yes.
know some of it. Previous to being a special education teacher, I was the career counselor for Meriden Public Schools, for Maloney High School for, I don't know, almost 10 years. And I shared my office with Deb Cohan, who was the transition coordinator. And she recently retired, and having been a special education teacher, I kind of just fit that role really well because it's pure special education with career services. So it's a nice fit.
Yes.
So I know a lot of this, but I can't, I need to brush up and see the changes and so
Right,
forth.
absolutely. It's always changing. And that's the hard thing with transition. It's so broad. You can't just pick like, okay, we're going to talk about, it's like preparing for the PPT meeting, right? That's just one little series, and
Yeah.
it's straightforward, but transition, it's a lot. A lot
It's
of
very
information.
broad.
It
Yeah,
is.
very, very broad.
Actually, we have a transition 101. And the reason why we're breaking it up into smaller sections is we have a 44, is it, Jovi, is it like 44 pages or slides as
Yep.
far as everything going to WIOA and everything. It's a long presentation. And after about half an hour, you start losing folks. I'm zoomed out after half an hour.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. Like, 20 minutes to 30 minutes of just information, because it really allows time to digest the information and ask questions of you to make sure that we thoroughly understand. So I think it's fantastic. I thank you for taking the time to do it.
Absolutely. So I will get the actual bill that was introduced for changing for the transition services beginning, and hopefully they'll have the reg. I looked everywhere and nobody can find the reg. I'm sure it's there.
I was
Yeah.
just looking for it now to provide it, and I couldn't find it either.
You can't find it either.
Yeah, and even Disability Rights Connecticut had it on their website, which was the quickest place to go and kind of put it out there, and I can't find it either, but I'm working on it. While I continue to work on it, there's 2 questions on the chat. I have Joanna, do we provide, do you, CPAC, provide assistance with IEP meetings and transition services with the school since DDS no longer has a transition coordinator? That's question 1.
Okay. And so let me answer that. The answer is we have limited capability. So we are not advocates. We are parent consultants, but we do, we'll look at the IEP. We'll look at all the different aspects of the IEP and provide feedback and guidance and training. And we will attend, depending on the situation, IEP meetings and assist families, but it's really to educate and empower families and create that partnership with the school district. Because you're going to be, you're going to be involved in the school district the entire time your youngster is in the school. So we want to build partnerships and a working relationship, even though sometimes it can be difficult and you need to have those difficult conversations, but to work through them.
Okay, and then Terry shared that there's a lot, yes, a lot there, and my district has shared hardly anything that's available, even after asking.
I'm sorry to hear that. Give us a call, please. Okay.
Joe has a question regarding transition services up to age 22. Joe, if you can go ahead and just ask your question.
Sure, thank you. So my son's going into his senior year, and then part of the IEP is for him to continue on with the school district up to whatever age, 21, 22. Are there other programs out there besides the school district? Because that's right now it's written into his plan, but are there other resources, other programs that, let's say, we think might be a better fit for him? And is it, we get to make that decision, or is it like, if we wanted to outsource, then we'd have to go through that whole process and who pays for it kind of thing?
Right. Yes and no. So it is a PPT decision, and it should be based on the transition assessments, the present levels of performance, and the goals. So, looking at your young adult, what do he or she need? What is happening right now at the school? What skills need to be developed? So if the transition program is really focused on low functioning individuals and the school district does not have the capacity for students who might be college bound or have a higher level of function, then that may not be the transition program for your child. But it is a discussion at the PPT to look at everything. What does the transition assessment say? What are the present levels of performance? What skills need to be built? And, special education, it's not a building, it's a service, and you can do a lot of different things and you can get creative. So it might be adding something into the current program, or many districts are starting to share resources and have like a regional transition program. So they kind of pull things together.
Joe, just on another note from personal experience in my school district, the situation, my son is a high functioning student with disabilities. And again, the lower functioning transition program just didn't serve his needs. So my district actually worked one-on-one with me to create a program just for him, an individual transition program just for him. So he goes to Gateway Community College, he receives services down there that the district provides and pays for. They provide transportation. So you can really kind of, if you can, make the argument with your transition assessments, your present levels of performance, really a plan could be created right at PPT. That doesn't necessarily mean he needs to go or she needs to go to a transition program that you don't feel is appropriate for meeting his particular or her particular needs. So there's that too.
kind of a customized approach.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
very customized. Because it's hard, you know, and I'm a special education teacher. I've been in my district for years. I'm familiar with different transition programs. There are very few out there that serve the needs of higher functioning students, which is unfortunate. We need more. And I think that districts are starting to realize that more and more, because we have so many individuals that are higher functioning autism that, they need those gap years of transition. And these districts have always provided for the lower functioning students. And now they're coming to a crossroads where they need to provide something for higher functioning students. So
Yeah.
I think, a lot of districts realize this. They're trying to figure out how to do it that's cost effective, because everything is expensive. But really, if you're able to make your argument based upon data at the PPT, you come to it with data, and you say, this isn't a fit for my kid, it's not appropriate. We need to figure out what's appropriate. So I'm willing to work with you, but this is not going to work for him. We need to work together to develop a different plan for him or her.
Exactly.
That-
And in
That's
the
my
chat,
experience.
yeah.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I put in the chat two things. One is the link to, it's called EdSite, and it goes over all the different transition programs in the state of Connecticut, the community programs and school, school programs. So you can peruse through there to see what might be fit. But I do encourage you to talk about it at the PPT meeting, discuss, bring the data with you. And my guess is they're going to try to create a program that is appropriate.
Laura, I have, Lisa has a question. I did find, I'm going to post in the chat, the link from Disability Rights Connecticut about the H22. So that is on there. But Lisa did share, are there any requirements for the schools for transition services? Do they have to provide appropriate job training?
If that's a part of the goals, yes. So based on those transition assessments, based on the students' preferences and likes, they should have some sort of job program or job skill building, whether it's how do you write a resume? How do you interview? It can vary. And if there isn't, you can always invite a Bureau of Rehab Services to do some job coaching and job shadowing and skill building. So
because we're in Colchester, so it's kind of middle of nowhere, kind of, sort of. You know what I mean? Yes. The location issue.
Mm-hmm. But they should be providing some sort of training as far as job skills, because we want our individuals to go out and become productive members of society.
So this is all based on like what is decided at the PPT meetings, right? Basically, what the appropriate job training would be, because right now she's like, my daughter she's 17. She's working at like a coffee cart at the school, and that's their idea of that's her
job training.
And
so
it's not really good enough. You know what I mean?
Right. So you'll hear me say this a lot. It's going back to those transition assessments and looking at the skills and the skills that need to be built, and also what are her dreams for the future? What does she want to do after high school? And really looking at where those gaps are. What are the needs as far as vocation? And there's lots of different resources for vocation. There's different things online. And this year it was very difficult with COVID. And even going out to the community, there were some districts that actually did go out in the community, but they became very creative. What agencies or what job places would allow students in with masks and how many, and even doing some virtual things. And I'd say the past year and a half, 2 years, it took a lot of creativity, and it was very difficult all around on both sides, parents and educators. Any other questions or?
Just another one. The transition assessment, is that part of the IEP, or is that a separate set of documents?
Yes. It is required on the transition page. I want to call it page 6, but eventually that will be changing, not to page 6 when the new IEP comes out, but it is the transition page. and it's ongoing assessment. So a district or a high school should not just do one, job skills checklist or use, Naviance to assess the, the student skills. It should be ongoing because their needs are going to change and their interests are going to change. And actually what I can do is,
Thank you.
I will post in the chat the transition assessment manual. It gives different transition. Well, I want to thank you everybody for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thank you as well.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing you on September 14th. Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, Terry, I saw that you had a question. Yes, I did, but I can
Oh,
send you.
no,
I can
just the document or whatever
The link
you've
to the
got there
slide.
on various transition
Yes.
assessments and things
And
like that.
actually,
Yeah.
I can share the PowerPoint. I do believe I'm going to try to share it right now.
Oh, that'd be wonderful if you can send that out, because that's got a lot of links and
It
everything
does
in it.
have a lot of links.
Yeah.
Would it be easier if I just
Yeah.
emailed it?
That'd be wonderful. Yes. And
will
I
do
will
that.
call you guys to find out. I'll
Yes,
go through
please
this information and then
Yes.
call you and find out what else is out there.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. This was very, very helpful. Very, very good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, everybody have a wonderful evening.
Bye-bye, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.